North Carolina. This is the 1984 Miller High Life 500, featuring NASCAR's Grand National Drivers. This program is brought to you by Miller High Life, the best beer for the best time of the day. Welcome to Miller Time. By the U.S. Armed Forces, it's a great place to start. By Skoal Bandits, tobacco in a neat little pouch. It's a little pouch of pleasure. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the $500,000 Miller High Life 500 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm Mike Joy with Barney Hall, and today NASCAR's finest Winston Cup stock car drivers will square off in what must rank as the biggest race of the fall season.
Well, there's no doubt about that, Mike. This race is so important to all 41 drivers. They all want to go for over $500,000 available here this afternoon. They're all out to impress potential sponsors. The point championship is so tight here, there's at least 4 drivers, possibly 5, that have to make a good showing today or it's all over as far as the Winston Cup championship.
But even so, this racetrack has tended to favor certain teams and certain drivers. Who do you rate as toughest today?
Well, really, most tracks we go to, you can pick a favorite. But here, I don't think you can, because there's too many guys that's run good all week long. The new tire that has been developed for this particular race, every driver rates it and says it'll put at least 10 or 12 more cars in contention to win here that might not have had a shot before. As far as picking a favorite, you could name 10 or 12 drivers, like pole sitter Benny Parsons said, really half the garage.
Let's go down to pit road and Pat Scanlon.
Thank you, gentlemen. You can really feel the excitement beginning to build down here on pit row. And one reason, Benny Parsons. Parsons qualified for the pole position in record fashion, topping 165 miles per hour. Benny on the inside pole, on the outside, Bill Elliott. Another matchup to look for involves the Winston Cup Point Championship. Terry Labonte leads Harry Gant by just 91 points. Harry will start in row 2, Terry back in row 6. Any way you look at it, great NASCAR stock car racing action this afternoon here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And we'll be back to take a look at the starting grid right after this.
For the $500,000 Miller High Life 500. $44,000 went to the pole sitter, Benny Parsons of Ellerbe, North Carolina, in the Copenhagen Chevrolet at 165.5 miles per hour. It'll be Chevy versus Ford in the front row. Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the Coors Melling Ford Thunderbird, 165 miles per hour.
Harry Gant will be starting third this afternoon and needs to pick up some points on the Winston Cup title. Harry Gant of Taylorsville, North Carolina, 165.092 miles an hour in the Skoal Bandit Chevy. And Darrell Waltrip, he also needs to pick up some Winston Cup points today. Franklin, Tennessee driver, the Budweiser Chevrolet, 165.059 miles an hour.
One of NASCAR's all-time super speedway winners, David Pearson of Spartanburg, South Carolina, the Chattanooga 2 Chevrolet will start 5th. In the 6th slot outside row 3, the defending Grand National champion, Bobby Allison of Hueytown, Alabama, in the Miller High Life Buick.
Ricky Rudd starts in 7th position this afternoon in the Wrangler Ford. He's a contender to win here. It's one of his favorite racetracks. 164.694 miles an hour is qualifying speed. Neil Bonnet from Bessemer, Alabama, feels this racetrack owes him one this afternoon. The Budweiser Chevrolet qualifying at 164.576 miles an hour.
In row 5, Jeff Bodine from New York State, Lake Speed of Mississippi, then Ron Bouchard from Massachusetts, and the Texan, Terry Labonte.
In row 7, Tim Richmond of Ashland, Ohio, and Rusty Wallace. In row number 8, Buddy Baker, hometown favorite here from Charlotte, and Dale Earnhardt in the Wrangler Chevrolet.
Cale Yarborough and Dean Combs in the 9th row, and in row 10, Connie Saylor and L.D. Ottinger. They had to run 163.5 miles per hour to crack the top 20. Let's take a look at the rest of this 41-car starting field. Our on-track reporter, Dick Brooks, is wired microphone live in row 13.
In the 14th row, Joe Ruttman. He needs to make a good showing here today. He's in a brand new race car and looking for a ride in 1985.
Rookies in the 16th and 17th row, and way toward the back, Kyle Petty back in row 19.
And Lenny Pond will bring up the tail end of the field from Chester, Virginia.
He had to run 160 miles an hour just to make the show. On the pole for the 19th time in his career, and that pole position kicks him over $2.7 million in career prize winnings. Ford Thunderbird pace car dives on pit road. We're set for a start.
Down they come to the line. It'll be a real scramble when they cut them loose as they head for turn number 1. Now, most of the drivers will try to break free of the pack, and maybe Parsons will try to pull away. Elliott will try to hang on to the draft. It's always early in the race at Charlotte, or any track for that matter, where they run high speeds. You try to scramble the field out. In case there is an accident, you're not too bunched up in that first corner.
A lot of jostling as they get into turn number 1 and start to string out. Coming out of turn number 2, back straightaway. It's Parsons in the lead, and Gant is hooked up with him. Bill Elliott rides in the 3rd spot as they go down the backstretch and head for turn 3.
The battle now as they come out of that corner and head back to the line. Benny Parsons looks like he might lead the first lap, but the scramble will be for the number 2 position. Gant down on the inside, Elliott on the outside as they come to line, and Parsons will lead the first lap as they head back to turn 1.
Darrell Waltrip is 4th. In the 5th spot, David Pearson. 6th is Bobby Allison, but the fight is for the 2nd spot as the rest of the field strings out of turn number 2.
Down that long back chute, this is where you can make a run at a driver if they are still door to door for the 2nd spot as they work into turn number 3. Elliott caught in that high lane, and that's a long way around the racetrack as they work into the number 4 corner and come back to the line. They're beginning to string out a bit in the early going here at Charlotte.
Elliott on the top side moves up right in the draft of Benny Parsons, the pole sitter. Gant, though, cuts across the low side of the racetrack through that dogleg and looking down toward turn number 1. Parsons has it all his own way. Gant right with him. Bill Elliott, Darrell Waltrip, the front 4.
Locked together in that draft, you can't afford to lose it in the early going, or else you'll slide back through the field. And as Buddy Baker once said, you look a lot better going forward than you do going backwards. They're back into turn 3. Parsons still out front as the battle continues for the number 2 positions. That's good racing. It's just about as good as you'll see anywhere. They come door to door, racing lap after lap, side by side. Gant down to the inside. Elliott still hung out in that high groove as they work back to 1.
Although the low side is the short way around, Bill Elliott's car is really working well at the top of the racetrack.
Elliott now scoots out front, takes over the number 2 position as they work out of the corner and down that long back straightaway again. And Parsons' car is working flawlessly. He remembers when he was at Darlington some time ago and won the pole and crashed on the first lap. That has to be in his mind here today as he took it easy going into the corner.
Trouble on the Kyle Petty car. The hood is up. Kyle qualified, just barely made the show in 38th position. And already he's on pit road and he's lost a lap to the leaders.
Field shuffles back into turn number 1 with Parsons still pacing the race, and he'll set a blistering pace here this afternoon. He said this week the car has been comfortable all week long, and if he can get it done, that's exactly where he'll stay, is at the front of the pack. Some good hard-nosed racing going on back in the field for 3rd position right now as Waltrip is down to the inside of Bill Elliott.
Darrell Waltrip right at the bottom of the racetrack. David Pearson holds on to that 5th spot. Bobby Allison is 6th. Terry Labonte and Lake Speed side by side for 7th. Ricky Rudd is 9th, ahead of Neil Bonnet, Jeff Bodine, Tim Richmond, and Richard Petty.
Mike, I think the big surprise is to see Terry Labonte racing so hard in the early going. He's the Winston Cup points leader. He cannot afford to get in trouble and afford a bad finish, yet he's door to door the last several laps with Lake Speed.
Labonte in the Piedmont Airlines car, number 44, currently rests in 7th position. Back up front. Oh, Harry Gant gets loose coming off that 4th corner, and that has been a noted trouble spot at this racetrack.
That is a trouble spot at Charlotte. As they come out of that corner, the car has a tendency to kick out, and you'll see an awful lot of marks on the side of the car before the day is over.
Benny Parsons running right where he started this race in the number 1 position. Pole qualifying in Charlotte takes the total of 4 consecutive laps around the racetrack. It requires a certain amount of consistency and a whole lot of preparation for Parsons and his Johnny Hayes racing team.
Well, I think the fact that we haven't raced since Darlington, the Southern 500 was our last race. So Cliff and the rest of our crew, Leo, were back at home working for the last month, and the next race was Charlotte, and that's the thing we were gearing for. And the pole position, we had to be here to run for the pole, so why not really put forth an all-out effort? And we did, and the consistency was, as you mentioned, unbelievable.
You win poles, they give you money and things like that, but it's something else to actually say, that truck over there is yours, you get to drive it home. Yeah, that's something new for a crew chief and any of the crew to get some acknowledgement like that.
Parsons got $17,000, a new Ford pickup, and a Ford Bronco for crew chief Cliff Champion. But that task is over. Right now, keeping the lead is what's on his mind.
Darrell Waltrip has just moved into the lead here at Charlotte, North Carolina. Waltrip out front all of a sudden. He's one of the smartest race drivers on the circuit. He'll come up early if the car's capable to find out exactly what his competition, how strong it is. Now he's in the lead.
And that's important for him, Barney, to have a shot at the point title. Leading a Winston Cup race is worth 5 bonus points. And the driver who leads the most laps today gets another 5 bonus points. And of the drivers in contention to win the title, now Parsons is not. They run a limited schedule with that race car, about 18 races a year. But for the drivers in the chase for the Winston Cup, Gant, Labonte, Earnhardt, Waltrip, and Elliott, they must lead a lap here if they possibly can.
Well, today is so critical for the top 5 drivers as far as the Winston Cup Championship. It's almost a do-or-die situation for Darrell Waltrip, Dale Earnhardt, and even Harry Gant, who currently is posted in the 2nd position in the point standings. Waltrip has already picked up his lap, so he's picked up 5 bonus points as Parsons chases him back in the straightaway.
Darrell Waltrip, the leader, driving for the legendary Junior Johnson out of Ingle Hollow, North Carolina. Still, that battle goes on for the 4th spot, side by side, and for 6th as well. But Waltrip and Parsons are hooked up like they want to run away from the field.
That's going to be awfully hard to do because Richard Petty, Cale Yarborough are coming up. They're linked up in a draft also and running down the leaders.
Petty right now is in the 7th position in car number 43. In 8th is Yarborough, and in 9th, Dale Earnhardt.
Good battle for the lead as they go door to door in the straightaway and head off into the corner. On the outside is Darrell Waltrip. Down the inside is Benny Parsons in that 55 car. And Waltrip has the advantage in the corner, and that's where you can tell just exactly how strong a team is. If you can gain some daylight in the turns, your car is flat working, and his is down the back straightaway as they work into 3.
As those two cars run side by side, you see it allows Harry Gant in the 33 car to close on the leaders just a bit as they drift off that 4th corner, and looks like there's a bit of a bump there as they come off 4.
As they come off that corner, the car really kicks out. As we said earlier, there'll be a lot of paint scraped in that turn before the day is over.
Stevie Waltrip looking on intently as her husband battles Benny Parsons and Harry Gant for the lead here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Back straight away. Parsons, Gant, Waltrip, Lake Speed, Bill Elliott, the front 5. We'll be right back. Benny Parsons and Darrell Waltrip have been trading the lead back and forth here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Don Paul's in the garage area. Joe Ruttman called it a short day after 8 laps, lost the rear end in his Barclays American Chevrolet. And here's Ricky Rudd on pit road. Looks like scheduled pit stops.
You really have to get with it in a hurry when you bring these cars in under green, and they drop them down, put fuel in, get them back out in about 14 seconds. If it's anything less than that, it's a super pit stop. But if it's anything over 15 seconds, it is not a good one.
Cale Yarborough receiving service from the Harry Vernier crew. And here's Benny Parsons, the pole sitter. Cliff Champion and crew go to work. Bill Elliott, the outside pole sitter in the Ford. Parsons is through. He's away.
Here's Harry Gant, Skull Bandit in. They're changing left side tires on that car. They drop him and get him back onto the racetrack as Darrell Waltrip comes down the front straightaway, works his way down into turn number 1. Parsons back on the speedway, and after this round of pit stops, he is the leader.
Waltrip runs in the 2nd position. Harry Gant rides 3rd. Tim Richmond's Pontiac's in 4th. The Chevrolet of Cale Yarborough is 5th. 6th is Terry Labonte. 7th, Ricky Rudd. 8th, Richard Petty. 9th is Jody Ridley. And 10th is Bill Elliott.
Feel pretty well strung out after this round of pit stops as we see Cale Yarborough moving up a notch around Tim Richmond as they work back into the number 1 corner. And Cale Yarborough's had an ill-handling car quite a bit today as they've made several adjustments on his machine.
Nonetheless, Cale started in 17th, and he's worked his way up to battle for the 4th position with Tim Richmond. It is Benny Parsons continuing to run at the bottom of the racetrack. Now sliding up just a bit as he comes off turn number 4. That low groove is going to get awful hard to hold as the day goes on.
Well, you'll see them running real low in the beginning of the race, and then as the day goes on, they'll move up a lane, and then by the time the race is over here this afternoon, they'll be running almost at the top of the racetrack. But Parsons' car is really working. It has all week as he sweeps underneath one of the lapped cars to scoot around in the back straightaway. Benny Parsons' car is really dialed in.
Parsons moves underneath Lenny Pond of Ettrick, Virginia as they head for turn number 3, and there's the separation back to the 2nd place car just now coming off turn number 2, and down the backstretch Waltrip finds himself in fast company. Harry Gant, the green and white Chevrolet on the outside, moving up the challenge for the 2nd position.
Gant has been the hottest driver on the circuit in recent weeks, and he felt like coming into Charlotte this week he had a good chance to win this one. He's been running awfully strong all afternoon long. But Parsons is the dominant car, at least as this juncture of the race, as we see him going around the racetrack. Nobody is even running anywhere close to him at this particular point in the race.
Barney, the forecast for this morning was perhaps for showers and certainly for overcast skies, but the sunshine that's prevailed through these first 100 laps looks like they've just hit the right setup.
Well, when you do that, you kind of say an educated guess paid off for you, but sometimes it can change. The temperature can drop or the sun can go in, and then when it does, if you're set up one way, the cars that have been running back in the pack will suddenly start passing you. But for the moment, Benny Parsons, it's unreal how this race car is working here at Charlotte.
Parsons is the leader. Harry Gant runs in the second position. Waltrip now sitting in third and fourth. That battle decided in favor of Cale Yarborough over Tim Richmond. Parsons moves up on the Hawaiian Punch Buick of Ron Bouchard, the Race Hill Farm Team entry, and pulls up on Bouchard's longtime running mate, or adversary rather, Jeff Bodine out of Chemung, New York. Both those drivers graduated off the tough New England modified circuit.
Here's Cale Yarborough. He has now moved away from Tim Richmond by about 2 or 3 seconds as they work back into the corner, but Benny Parsons, just unreal how much daylight he's putting on the rest of the field.
So far, this race has gone without a caution flag. Through the first third of the event, it's been all green flag racing. There's Waltrip. He's the third place car behind Parsons and Gant, and some notable drivers already in the garage area. Dale Earnhardt challenging for the Winston Cup. His Wrangler Chevrolet has parked with an engine failure. Likewise, David Pearson, the Silver Fox, his Chattanooga 2 Chevrolet out with a blown engine, and rookie driver Doug Hevron also in the garage area.
That's too bad for David Pearson. He's had such great success here at Charlotte, and it's really a heartbreaker for Dale Earnhardt in the Wrangler Chevrolet, because this, too, was kind of a must race for him. He had to post a finish in the top 3 or 4 to have a chance at finishing the Winston Cup.
It will just about drop him out of contention as Benny Parsons laps Waltrip's teammate, Neil Bonnet. Let's go to the garage area. Pat Scanlon.
David, what happened?
Well, something went wrong with the engine. I don't know where it blew the head gasket or dropped the valve or what it was. It seemed like it started slowing down after about the first 25 or 30 laps. It seemed like it was slowing down a little bit, and finally it just started skipping real bad.
David Pearson's won 105 Grand National stock car races. Only Richard Petty has won more, but he won't get 106 today.
That's too bad for David Pearson, as we said, because Pearson is still a winning driver. If he could just kind of come up with some engine combinations that would last all day, he's been a contender every race we've seen him in this year.
Darrell Waltrip, the third place car, like Dale Earnhardt, came into this race well back in the chase for the Winston Cup. He's looking for his third championship, but Barney, he needs to pick up some points today and have a strong finish.
Well, that's a thing that team has been able to do for the last few years, is finish the season very strong. Waltrip feels like that's his ace in the hole, is coming up with some good finishes in the latter part of the season. Here's Benny Parsons working around the Dean Combs car as he heads back into turn number 1. Field again pretty well strung out after that round of pit stops a moment ago, but Parsons, as he catches them, he just passes them where he finds them on the racetrack. That's just how well that car is working.
Parsons right behind Jeff Bodine, who made an early pit stop and got a lap down. Bodine now is fighting to stay on the lead lap with Parsons. They move past the 74 car, the Superior Piping Buick of Bobby Walwack. Parsons won the spring race at Atlanta.
And there's trouble in turn 1 as the field scoots off into the corner. Sterling Marlin's car has slammed into the concrete wall, bounces across the racetrack and comes down to the apron of the track, and it will bring out the first caution flag of the day as Ken Reagan also looked like he got a piece of that mic.
A tough break for 2 up-and-coming young drivers, but a big break for the race leaders. Some of those cars were in dire need of a pit stop under caution to make adjustment.
There were quite a few of the cars that were about to get lapped the way Benny Parsons has been getting around this racetrack, so it will tighten the field up, and it will also allow just about every team in the race to go onto pit road under caution.
Let's take another look at it as we watch Ken Reagan with a flat right front tire and some right front sheet metal damage coast down pit road. There's Sterling Marlin of Columbia, Tennessee, out of his car. He's okay.
Let's take a look at that accident again up in the corner as Sterling Marlin has bammed into the wall going into the concrete. Looked like he might have blown an engine going into the corner. You see the smoke out of the car as he heads in there. Car comes all the way around. That's what crunched the back end of the car as he slams into it. As he slides off the banking, Ken Reagan's 77 car, smoking, comes down to the track. Now watch Connie Saylor go right between those 2 cars in the center of the screen. Quite a move for Connie Saylor to save his race car.
This first caution flag of the afternoon will allow many of the drivers to make needed pit stops and allow us to bring you these important messages. This first caution flag will give us our first opportunity to talk to our on-track reporter. We've got a microphone inside the Chameleon Sunglasses Ford. And Dick Brooks, your team really needed that first caution flag.
Well, I think it's going to make quite a bit of difference. It's, you know, we got a slipping and sliding here. Nobody had a chance to come in and make any chassis adjustments. So I think that getting everybody bunched back up is going to make a lot of difference in a race for a lot of people. Some of these guys, I know Richard was getting a little bit slower. The 15-car run had slowed down a lot, so they'll make some chassis adjustments, and hopefully we have too. Feel a little bit better. Our own car's not running too bad. Just jumping around a little bit when another car's around me. But, you know, it's going to be a long day, looks like.
They're ready to go back to green as they come down to the line. Harold Kinder waves the green flag, and Benny Parsons will again try to pull away as they hit turn 1. Field will try to draft along with him. Good battle for the lead as they work into turn 3.
Now the cars that lined up on the inside are one lap down. There's your leaderboard. Parsons, Waltrip, Gant, Richmond, and showing Bobby Hillen, but rather that's the 28 car. Cale Yarborough posted in the 5th position.
Cale has had a car here today that has not been to his liking. I can tell you that because watching him go into corners most of the day, he's been running in that high groove, and anytime you see a car up in that 2nd or 3rd lane, it is not working in the turn. But Yarborough is an expert at doing more with an ill-handling car than probably any driver in the business, and he'll keep it in there.
He's running in the 5th position. Tim Richmond in 4th as they battle for that spot. Coming up on the halfway point, Barclays of America offers $10,000 to the driver who leads at halfway, and it's going to be a dogfight.
It is right now because 3 cars are stuck right at the front of the pack, but they're all trying to head Benny Parsons off at the pass. Gant down on the inside racing with Waltrip, and as long as they run door to door, that's going to allow Benny Parsons a little breathing room.
Do you have to run all out all day to win here?
You're going to have to run hard as you can run all day to be able to stay up front, and then you got to have, just got to work good, so that's why we're going all out.
Harry Gant wants the $10,000. That'll be coming up in a few laps as he makes his move underneath Benny Parsons.
Gant back straightaway. He'll take Waltrip with him down to the inside. There's the white nose of Waltrip's car sneaking a peek on the bottom of the racetrack. And into turn 3. Gant slides underneath, and he takes the lead from Benny Parsons.
$10,000 to lead 1 lap will make a driver do an awful lot of things and take a lot of chances. But right now it is Gant. He's pulling away as on pit road. Here's Neil Bonnet again in the pits. It has not been a good day for Neil Bonnet.
Now Waltrip has taken the 2nd spot. Cale Yarborough is up there to challenge Parsons for 3rd. Tim Richmond, Bobby Allison, Bill Elliott, they all want a piece of that 10 grand.
Down the backstretch, they work into turn number 3. Gant is there in the Skull Bandit. Waltrip trying to put some pressure on him as they hit the corner. That's where Waltrip's strong suit has been all day. But look at Harry bring it right down to the apron of the racetrack. And takes up the racing lane that Waltrip wants. No place to go for him.
Next 4 cars follow right in line, and we could be seeing a preview of the finish. In just a couple of laps, it will be Gant and Waltrip. These 2 cars plus Cale Yarborough to duel it out for that $10,000 bonus.
You won't see them racing door to door except on that lap for the big money. As they work around the racetrack, they'll try to put some daylight on the rest of the field to settle it among themselves as to who picks up the 10 grand. This is it. Here's Gant coming down to the line, takes it into the corner, and this will be the lap that pays $10,000 to whoever leads it. 167 laps, that's the halfway point. Waltrip's putting a charge on trying to get it. But as they come down to the line, it will be Harry Gant winning the $10,000.
Gant back to turn number 1 as the race rages on. Waltrip right with him. Cale Yarborough has now settled into that 3rd spot as they draft single file off turn 2 and down the back straightaway.
Still locked up in that 2-car draft. Just about a car length separate those front 2 as they have pulled away from Cale Yarborough. Good race going on as you saw coming into the corner. Tim Richmond coming down to the inside trying to pick up a spot as Gant leads Waltrip down the backstretch.
Gant's looking for his 4th victory of 1984, and all 3 of his wins have come in the 2nd half of the season at Pocono, at Darlington, and at Dover, Delaware. But perhaps more importantly, Gant's 3 wins and 2 runner-up finishes in the 2nd half have allowed him to close within about 90 points of the Winston Cup point leader, Terry Labonte. Gant leads Waltrip down the back straightaway once again, and standing by in his pits with crew chief Travis Carter is Pat Scanlon.
Travis Carter, you just got $10,000 leading at halfway in the Barclays American Award. Nice bit of driving, Harry, getting up there at the halfway point.
Well, we've worked awful hard. The car was really, really loose when the race started. We've made some adjustments. We changed the tire stagger and improved it some, and we're still off a little bit, so
while Gant leads Waltrip, the car that dominated the early part of this race, Benny Parsons, is not back at the front of the field. He's locked up in a dogfight for the 4th position.
But there's a good scramble coming up there. Here's Parsons diving down to the inside underneath Tim Richmond as they come out of the corner. Can't do anything with it as they head back into the turn and string out down the straightaway.
Waltrip's taken the lead. He's moved ahead of Harry Gant for the front spot. And the cloud cover that's come over here, the front passing through, has cooled off the temperatures, taken away the sunshine, and it has taken away Benny Parsons' advantage.
He's fallen back quite a distance right now, and Waltrip has gotten stronger, and so has Harry Gant. As they ride nose to tail in the middle of the corner, Gant drops back a couple of car lengths. Cale Yarborough keeps the front twosome in sight. He's still hanging on to 3rd position as they work out of turn number 4 and back into the straightaway.
Waltrip's won 6 times this year on the circuit, 5 of those on short tracks, only once on a super speedway in August in Michigan. Cale Yarborough in the number 28 Hardy Chevrolet has won 3 times, so has Harry Gant. Yarborough won from the pole at Daytona and Talladega and came from 12th starting spot to win Pocono. Today he started back in 17th position, but has climbed his way steadily towards the front of the pack.
He's kept the leaders in sight all day long, and to come from 17th and keep Darrell Waltrip and Harry Gant in sight, that's a pretty good day's work, despite the fact that the car has been ill handling most of the day. Waltrip is the leader. Gant rides second. Cale is third. It's about 10 or 12 car lengths back to Cale Yarborough. He's not particularly concerned with that right now. All he wants to do is stay in that lead lap. Here's Waltrip catching up to the tail end of the field again, and he'll have to work through some of the lap traffic as they come out of the corner and back into the straightaway.
And it's nearly a straightaway back to the 4th place car. That's Tim Richmond.
There's trouble out of the corner as Ken Reagan's car gets away, spins to the outside, and the leader, Darrell Waltrip, gets a piece of it. He slams into the wall, and that's going to hurt Waltrip's chances as he comes down on the apron of the track. Let's hope there's not too much damage to Waltrip's car.
Ken Reagan's car is stopped in the straightaway, so we're under the caution for only the 2nd time this afternoon. And Darrell Waltrip will have to limp all the way around the racetrack to get back to pit road.
Now, as we take a look at the replay, you'll see what happened. Ken Reagan's car spins to the outside. Waltrip would like to turn left, but he can't because he's running too quick. He'd spin the car out and probably slam into the wall anyway. He feels that maybe he can get through an opening, but Ken Reagan's car just slides sideways too quickly, and Darrell has no place to go.
Harry Gant at the bottom of your screen, and Cale Yarborough, the orange and white car at the top, took evasive action and got through. Waltrip wasn't so lucky. We'll be back to Charlotte Motor Speedway after this. Mike Joy and Barney Hall at Charlotte Motor Speedway, where Benny Parsons leads on the restart. Harry Gant, Tim Richmond, Cale Yarborough, and Bill Elliott, with Richard Petty, Jeff Bodine, Ricky Rudd, Terry Labonte, and Jody Ridley filling the top 10.
We're under green again as Harold Kinder waves the flag. Parsons takes him back into turn number 1. He's been the dominant car here this afternoon. Harry Gant has put a lot of pressure on him, so has Darrell Waltrip. As the field scrambles into the number 1 corner, again, Parsons pulls him off the turn and down the backstretch.
Now Waltrip's car is in the garage being repaired as Gant makes his move. Harry Gant puts the Skull Bandit Chevrolet underneath Parsons, and here comes Bobby Allison, who's fighting to get back on the lead lap. He is 1 lap down in the number 22 car.
Allison is just coming back from that injured shoulder up at Dover, Delaware a few weeks ago. There was a lot of concern whether he could make 500 miles here at Charlotte. He's done a good job in the car thus far, even though he's a lap down.
Tim Richmond's in the 3rd spot, and Benny Parsons is sliding back in the field a bit. He took this restart green flag up front, but already he's been shuffled back to 4th position. And racing right up there with him at the front would be Darrell Waltrip in the number 11 car, but for one piece of rotten racing luck.
Again, Ken Reagan, his 2nd accident of the day, lost the car apparently coming out of the corner, skids out into the wall. Waltrip tried to cut through there, had no place to go, and has damaged the car. Now his car is in the garage as they're trying to get it repaired and get him back onto the racetrack. It is a must for Darrell Waltrip if he has any chance to win the Winston Cup Championship, but he's lost many, many laps as they're still working on the car, hoping to get him back in here this afternoon.
Report from the garage is the Waltrip's car has a broken brake line, and Junior Johnson, the car owner, reports the front end is knocked all out of whack, but their efforts continue.
Good run for Tim Richmond here today, and it's been a very disappointing season for the old Milwaukee car. Richmond has won 4 races in his career, but after last season, they figured this would be the year they really set the woods on fire. He's having a good run here at Charlotte today, currently being posted in the 3rd position.
There's Darrell Waltrip's car in the garage area being repaired as Richmond makes his move on the outside of Bobby Allison. Now Allison is 1 lap down. Richmond wants clear sailing at the race leader.
Richmond moves up into the number 2 position. Been a disappointing year for Tim Richmond. They kind of felt like they had things going in 1983, and this would be the year they kind of set the woods on fire, so to speak. But such has not been the case. He's had a good run at Charlotte today. He's kept the car up front most of the afternoon.
His biggest career payday came here 1 year ago when he finished 5th and earned $35,000. He's about to lose the 2nd spot. Richmond's on the high side of the racetrack. Cale Yarborough snookering underneath him.
Yarborough gets it down on that inside groove. That's the quick way around the speedway if the car is working, and they've made adjustments. They touch coming out of the corner, bump for just a moment. That's the race for 2nd spot. As they work back into turn number 1, they are still door to door, and this crowd loves it.
Bill Elliott pulls up. He's in the 4th spot. 5th is Jeff Bodine, and 6th, Benny Parsons. But everyone's watching this battle for 2nd spot.
Cale squeezes ahead by just about a half a car length. Richmond doesn't want to give him any running room as they work back into the corner, but Cale takes the spot away. Waddell Wilson has made adjustments on that car all day long, finally has it dialed into Cale's liking, and it's paying off for them.
And sneaking onto the screen at the back of that pack is Bill Elliott of the Coors Ford, the number 9 car. He started on the outside pole. The car didn't work too well the early part of the race, but now he's back up in the 4th spot, and as Yarborough scoots away, Elliott's in position to challenge Richmond for 3rd.
Haven't talked much about Elliott today. He's been running back in the field. He's another one of those drivers that'll kind of lull you to sleep, so to speak. You think he's not even a factor, and then all of a sudden he is there. One of the smoothest race drivers in the business, and now he's picking his way to the front as he works after Cale Yarborough.
Harry Gant, the race leader, and Richard Petty clips the wall. Coming off turn number 4, the car starts a long, lazy spin, slides off the banking down into the grass right near the start-finish line. Petty still has the wheels going, but he's pointed wrong way up the racetrack.
Petty finds out that the trouble spot, just like everybody else, has been coming off turn number 4 as he spins, tries to get down pit road, and will take the car back onto the speedway. Richard Petty, one of the winningest drivers of all time. Here comes the battle for the lead again. Cale Yarborough really smokes those tires coming off the corner, tries to get underneath Harry Gant, couldn't do it as Gant just shut the door on him, and they work back into the straightaway. But Cale Yarborough seems to get stronger as the afternoon goes by.
Gant may have lifted off the throttle for a bit, thinking there might be a caution flag, but we're going to stay under green. The track is clear, and Cale is there.
Cale again tries to get down to the inside. You see the rear end of the car kick out just a bit as they came off that corner, and he too has to come out of the throttle as they work back into turn number 1. But Yarborough is one of the toughest in the business. He won't give you an inch on a racetrack. He doesn't ask for anything, but he won't give you anything. You can see the tire smoke off Cale's car, which indicates that he is really hanging it off the corner. Here's Darrell Waltrip in the garage area. He's been in there more than 40 laps right now as they're trying to get the car repaired and get him back onto the speedway.
Gant gets loose as he tries to lap Richard Petty. There may have been a little contact there. Whatever, Gant will give up the lead to Cale Yarborough. Just that one slight bobble or contact cost Harry Gant the lead.
And that's where Cale Yarborough is so good. He'll wait for somebody to make a mistake, and he'll take advantage of it. Richard Petty on the outside. Here comes Gant down to the inside again as there's no place to go as they work into the corner.
And Petty will go a lap down. He's recovered from that spin, but will go 1 lap behind. Let's watch that bobble once again. There goes Yarborough. He's an opportunist.
He'll sit and wait for somebody to make a mistake, as we said, and when it happens, he'll take advantage of it. He's one of the few drivers that can do that. Again, Gant charges right back to the front. That car been strong all afternoon. This time, Cale will drift high in the corner, and that should give Harry a little room to get up there if he has the stuff to do it. They come door to door back in the straightaway.
And coming into the picture is Bill Elliott right behind the Petty car. He's now the 3rd place machine. It is door to door for the lead at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Harry Gant underneath Cale Yarborough as Petty slips up high. Here comes Bill Elliott, and it's going to be a 3-way battle for the lead.
Elliott has bided his time. He's paced that Ford Thunderbird all afternoon as he works up to the front of the pack. He's watching the front twosome run for the lead. He's in no hurry to get up there. He has them in sight, and when the time comes, if he has the stuff, he can go after them. Gant swings down to the bottom of the racetrack and takes the lead away from Cale Yarborough as they work almost to the bottom of the speedway.
Tim Richmond has grenaded an engine as he rolls into the corner. Richmond's lost it. Here comes Jeff Bodine. sends him around straight. Richmond does a 360-degree spin, and this time he holds on.
Richmond keeps the car at a straight line, goes down on the apron of the racetrack, and caution is on the speedway. We'll see the leaders on pit road momentarily. Harry Gant is still in front, and he is one of the first to dive into the pits.
This will be the third caution of the afternoon as Gant's crew goes to work. Let's take another look at the Richmond incident.
It appears that Richmond blows an engine as he goes into the corner, Mike. A lot of smoke out of the car. If that is the case, you see a lot of oil come out of the car. The tires get slippery, and that's why the car comes all the way around. But look at the piece of driving Jeff Bodine tried to do. He tried to take his car to the bottom of the racetrack, just couldn't quite make it as he clips Richmond and knocks him around in a 360. And there's going to be some damage on Jeff Bodine's car.
Crew Chief Cliff Champion changing the left front tire, engineers a 4-tire change for Benny Parsons. Most of the leaders took on 4 tires as Tim Richmond coasts into the garage area and out of the race. We'll be right back. For caution, let's go live to Dick Brooks in the Chameleon Ford and find out what kind of shape the track's in.
Well, the track's doing pretty good. Like it's not breaking up or, and it's not all that slick. The tires seem to be doing a good job up to about 30 or 40 laps, and then they start slipping pretty bad. All in all, I think pretty good day. It's nice and cool. The people here must be enjoying it. I know I certainly am. So glad talking to y'all anyway.
As the green flag waves again, the leader will be Bill Elliott. Good pit work put him back out at the head of the pack. Gant rides second. Benny Parsons is third. The 4th place car is Ricky Rudd, and 5th is Terry Labonte.
In 6th is Jody Ridley, 7th is Cale Yarborough, and 8th is Jeff Bodine. Those are the only cars left on the lead lap of the 41 that started here.
Elliott takes him down the straightaway. Now, this is the first time this afternoon he's been up there at the head of the pack. As we said earlier, he's kind of laid back most of the day. They made a couple of adjustments on that car also. We'll find out if he has the stuff to hold off the field the rest of the distance. Here he is, out of the corner. Gant has had one of the stronger cars as he's right on him to see what Gant can do with him in the turn.
Elliott won the spring race at Michigan International Speedway, only his 2nd career Winston Cup win. One up there on Father's Day, and there's the separation back through the field as these 2 drivers are trying to hook up and get away.
Mike, I think if ever a racetrack owes a driver a win, Charlotte Motor Speedway certainly owes this young man one. He's come so close to winning here on a number of occasions, finished second about 2 or 3 different times, and the car always runs well here, but he's just had more than his share of troubles, and he feels like this could be his day.
But Bill Elliott is at the head of the class right now. His Ford leads the 2 Chevrolets of Gant and Parsons, and those 2 cars are battling for the 2nd spot.
As they work off the corner and into the straightaway, here's Parsons down to the inside as Gant drifts a little high, and Benny Parsons will move up into the number 2 position, and Gant falls back to 3rd.
Neither Gant nor Cale Yarborough look to be working quite as well as they did on their last set of tires before the caution flag and this last round of pit stops. And Elliott's increasing his lead. And he needs a good finish here at Charlotte. He's coming off 4 really tough races where he's either blown up or crashed or both. And we asked him coming to Charlotte for the Miller High Life 500, is there something special to him about racing on this track?
Well, there's nothing really special more safe than anywhere else. It's a pretty tough race to drive, and the competition is always good here, and you just got to stay out of trouble and be there at the end. That's what I feel like.
And that's been his problem the last few weeks, being there at the end.
It's been kind of a good track for him, though, because as we said, he's had a lot of 2nd-place finishes here. The car's always run well, and if he can just have that little bit of luck that he's been looking for at this particular racetrack, he could come home a winner. Right now, Benny Parsons trails along in the number 2 position, just 1 spot down from where he started on the pole, and Elliott started outside. They've reversed that right now as Parsons tries to chase down Elliott here at Charlotte. Here's Harry Gant, and that's the battle with Cale Yarborough. Should be for 3rd place.
That is 3rd position, well back of the leader, Bill Elliott, but they're racing tooth and nail for 3rd. Now, Cale Yarborough's car on each of the restarts has been a little slow to come up through traffic, but once that fuel load lessens, Yarborough's car charges to the front, and he's at it again. He's working on Harry Gant for that 3rd position.
Cale has as much horsepower as any driver in the business, but a lot of races where the track demands a lot of really good chassis setup, they've been off a little bit this year. Here's Elliott, the leader.
And he's opened up quite a lead. It's about 5, maybe 6 seconds back to Benny Parsons. For a bit of race strategy, let's go to Pat Scanlon.
Well, Champion, you're about 6 seconds behind the leader right now. When does Benny make his move?
He's making his move right now. It just, the tires that we have on the car, the stagger, again,
cars on the last time. You know, it made a mismatched set. The car's a little too tight for the way Benny likes to drive right now, so he isn't able to drive in traffic as good as Bill Elliott is. Unless we have a caution or something and come in, get another set of tires on the car with a better combination, we don't really stand a chance at this point.
All right, thank you, Cliff.
Cliff Champion, who says the car is too tight. That means that Benny has a little trouble turning it in the corners. When the car is loose, if a driver likes to run a race car loose, that means he can do more with it. He can pick his point in the middle of the turn where he wants to cut the car and save 0.2 of a second or so coming through the turns. It makes a big difference.
And those 0.2 add up in a hurry as we watch Benny Parsons working past Ken Schrader's automobile, that of Dick Brooks and Ron Bouchard. Here's Cale Yarborough. He is now the 3rd place car. There's Harry Gant, who's dropped back to 4th, running just ahead of 5th place Terry Labonte.
And Gant, too, apparently is having some handling problems on his car because earlier today he was one of the strongest in the field. Now he's going backwards instead of forwards. As Bill Elliott continues to just put lap after lap on the board, his car working flawlessly now, as we had seen Benny Parsons earlier this afternoon, and also the Harry Gant car. But all of a sudden, it's young Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia.
Elliott's presence was not made known at the front of the field until this race was 350 miles old. Here's the 4th place battle now. Again, as Gant backslides through the field, Terry Labonte is right there to challenge him. Now we're back with the leader, Bill Elliott, car number 9, the Harry Melling-owned Coors Thunderbird, as he laps past young Bobby Hillen.
This is a family operation for the Elliots. George Elliott, their father, kind of helped his youngsters get started several years ago. Bill, the driver. Ernie is his chief mechanic, and Dan Elliott, also one of the members of the team. And there he is, anxiously watching his brother on the racetrack, hoping that he can keep it together for the next 3 laps.
Benny Parsons, the 2nd place car, then the orange and white colors of Cale Yarborough in 3rd. And at the end of this line in green and white, there's Harry Gant, the 4th place cars. Only those 4 cars are on the lead lap.
And Elliott has such a healthy lead right now. All the other drivers can do is just hope he has some kind of a problem with just a couple of laps remaining. Elliott moves around. Ron Bouchard takes it back into the corner.
Bouchard then goes 3 laps down. He's running around in 11th position. There's 2nd place Benny Parsons, running just about 11 seconds behind the leader, as we're in the closing laps of the Miller High Life 500. 2 laps to go for Bill Elliott. And boy, this track owes him one, and Barney looks like he's going to get it this afternoon.
If he can keep it together for a couple of more laps, I think it'll be one of the most popular wins of the year. Elliott has an awful lot of fans here at Charlotte Motor Speedway this afternoon, and he's come so close, and the fans have really become attached to this young driver.
Here's Benny Parsons, who's going to end up with a strong afternoon. Parsons started on the pole, dominated the first half of the race, but once the cloud cover overcame Charlotte Motor Speedway, could not keep that car at the front of the pack.
Here's Elliott out of turn number 4, comes down to the line, and white flag from Harold Kender. He has 1 lap to go as he takes it back in turn 1.
Jackson, Michigan businessman Harry Melling owns this car, and he's here to see it run this last lap toward the checkered flag. What a win it'll be for Elliott and the whole family team from Dawsonville, Georgia.
It's been something this youngster has wanted for a long time. Some of his best runs in his career have come at Charlotte as he takes it around on the final lap here in the Miller High Life 500. Here's Benny Parsons. All he can do is watch. He'll come home 2nd. Here's Elliott out of the 4th corner.
Checkered flag waving from the starter and off turn 4 down to the start-finish line. Bill Elliott notches his 3rd Winston Cup Grand National win of his career and gains some valuable Winston Cup points in that chase for the championship. He's come close to victory lane here several times, as close as 1 car length of the checkered flag, but he'll be the man we'll meet in victory lane when we return to Charlotte Motor Speedway. In May, Bill Elliott finished 28th at Charlotte Motor Speedway, his worst finish of the season. This is his best drive of the year.
They've been working for it for a long time, Mike Joy, and I think it couldn't have come at a better time for them. They need a boost going into the final races of the year.
So the race for the Winston Cup tightens up. Our thanks to Barney Hall for joining us with his expert viewpoint on Mizlou TV this afternoon. Let's go to Pat Scanlon.
A very happy Bill Elliott here in victory lane. Bill, you're on the outside pole at the start of the day, and here you are in victory lane now.
Well, the car didn't work too well at first of the race. The car got super loose, and I knew if we could ever get the car straightened out, the car was pretty strong. And there, kind of got it straightened out and worked my way a little bit to the front. And then we got a good set of tires on, and the car just ran super well the rest of the day.
It seemed like you had your way the rest of the day.
Well, the crew worked super well, and, you know, I got to thank everybody. They did a super good job.
Okay, you were about 250 points behind in the Cup race. going into today behind Terry Labonte. This tightened things up a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, I hope so. I sure wish I didn't have all that bad luck back at Darlington, Richmond, and Dover, but I guess they call that racing.
You feel you're back in it now?
Well, I don't know. It depends. There's still 4 races to go, and we'll see the next 4 races.
All right, congratulations, Bill Elliott, winning the Miller 500 here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Bill Elliott outlasts Benny Parsons, Cale Yarborough, Harry Gant, and Terry Labonte to take home $52,000 and keep his title hopes alive. There were 22 lead changes among 7 drivers and but 3 caution flags in the 500 miles of racing. Our congratulations from Mizlou TV Sports to Bill Elliott, winner of the Miller High Life 500.
The 1984 Miller High Life 500 has been brought to you by Miller High Life, the best beer for the best time of the day. Welcome to Miller Time. By the U.S. Armed Forces, it's a great place to start. By Skoal Bandits, tobacco in a neat little pouch. It's a little pouch of pleasure. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?